This is Mitch with the 1000houses.com podcast, and it is my pleasure to introduce Ron LeGrand. He's the legend, the myth, and the man is right here today. The reason I have Ron LeGrand on today is it's the 500th episode of the 1000houses.com podcast, and I thought no better way to get here towards the this landmark episode than to have one of the guys that actually was very instrumental in getting me into the business and getting me successful in the business. Getting in the business is one thing, and then figuring out how to make some money at it's another thing. Ron LeGrand was certainly a driving force in the way I was shaping my thoughts and what was possible in this industry. I can tell you from experience, I have bought a house about every 4 to 5 days in or about my hometown for over 2.5 decades. And it all started in a little classroom with this man right here, Ron LeGrand. So how you doing, Ron?
I'm good. All you just said was, I'm old as dirt. So you remember what year it was you started in that classroom?
Yeah, it was 1996, 97, somewhere right there.
Yeah, that worked out about right. Okay.
I walked out a year at seminar so on fire. I went to work to get enough money in the bank so that I could go a year without working, which wasn't very much money at that time, which was actually a blessing, right? When you don't make too much money, it's pretty easy to get free from your job. I was making like $35,000 a year. So I put $35,000 in the bank, and then I jumped off. The first thing I did was I went to your seminar, some more seminars of yours. And my first year, March of 1996, I bought 45 houses.
No kidding.
The next, yeah, because I was on fire with what you were opening doors and talking to me about things that I never knew were even remotely possible. And I saw where it was possible, and I needed to figure out if I could do it. And
sounds like you figured it out.
I have exceeded whatever I thought I was going to do or be in the financial realm or the house investing realm. I exceeded it so many times, it's not funny. I never really had any big goals, and my goal was just to get better next year than I was the last year. And it's taken me places I never thought. I suppose you maybe get tired of this by now, but thank you for the impact you've had on my life, and I'm sure there's thousands of people out there that you've had the same impact on. So thank you for what you do.
I never get tired of hearing stories like yours. Never.
Well, it's the truth. And, people would laugh at me and say, so you went to one of those scam deals? And I said, yeah, y'all just keep saying whatever you want to say. I know I can see what this man's talking about. He just told me I didn't need money or credit to go out and make a lot of money. And I didn't need to make a lot. I just needed to make a little. And so I went out there with no, I had good credit. I always had good credit, but I went out there with no money and no reputation at all, and started implementing what you said. And it didn't take long before I was on fire, Ron.
Yeah. Well, I can follow that up with a warning to your listeners. Be very careful to whom you listen, because broke people cannot teach you how to be rich. And in fact, they'll do everything they can to keep you from getting rich.
That's one of the things I got from you. I was out at first starting to tell people what I was going to do. It was so far out of the box of how people knew Mitch Stephen that they were curtailing me. They were pushing, they're trying to mash me back in that box. And I'd heard you say, be careful who you talk to. And I decided to just clam up. And there was maybe 1 or 2 people that were supporting me heavily, so I would confide in them how it was going. But anybody else I just didn't talk to, because they didn't understand
Right.
where I was at in my life, and they didn't understand what you were teaching me.
I've often taught people, get a check or 2, then you can start talking. You need preponderance of evidence.
Preponderance of evidence.
The first check is your shut up check. Shut up, go away, leave me alone.
Yeah. What did I call it? I called it hush money. I had to make some hush money to keep everybody quiet, So when did you start in this business, Ron?
March 12th, 1982. That's when I took my first seminar, and I kind of went by accident. It was all about how to make money in real estate without any money or credit. So it appealed to me. That seminar put me in a 2-day event that I had to go find the money to get into, and that 2-day event taught me enough to go out and do my first wholesale deal. And I literally did one. First one within 3 weeks. Got a check for a big old $3,000, but that was a monstrous check in 1982, I can tell you, and badly, badly needed. And the difference is I just kept on doing it, Mitch. Of course, everybody was telling me I couldn't do it too, but I just kept on doing it and kept on doing it, kept on doing it. And next thing you know, I quit my job very quickly. I amassed over $1 million worth of equity in real estate, but I did it all wrong, trying to put tenants in there and buying all the junk in the junk areas. And I'm sure you can relate to that, because I bet you did the same thing.
Yeah, when you don't have money, you think you need to start at the lower echelons. And so that's what I did.
And that, sir, is the biggest problem we deal with today, is changing people's minds about what they can do. How worthy are they? Worthy? Can they really make the money? And that we spend more time on that if you teach it in real estate. Frankly, it's the mindset things, all it is. But it only took me about 15 years to get out of that track.
Yeah, and the same for me and a lot of people. It's a little hard. Can I share a victory with you? I have bought 4 ranches in the last 4 weeks, all multi-million-dollar ranches. I don't have the money to buy 4 multi-million-dollar ranches, but I had developed over the years a reputation of paying people back and giving them good first lien positions on very strong collateral. And I was able to buy about 4 ranches. A couple of them we are fixing and flipping. There's some issues with these ranches. They're not ready to move into. They're very rough. They're ugly. They're shrubbery. The roads are overgrown, all that stuff. Different from a house, but the same concept. And then the other 2, we're subdividing way out in the counties where it's real easy. And you can almost pay market for a damn, for 1,700 acres. But by the time you cut it into 50 acre ranch, I call it ranchettes, but you never want to say that. Because the man that's coming out there to buy your place is coming to buy a ranch, and you don't want to demasculate him and call it a ranchette. He's buying a ranch for his family. So
I think you just made that up.
No, I didn't. So we're subdividing those. We have figured out, we've got the properties closed now. We have them. We've figured out how to unlock some equity. Some profit, and now all that's left to go out and do it. But it's about $10 million, of equity that I've figured out. Now, whether I make 7 million of that, or 5 million, or 9.5 million, who cares, right?
Doesn't matter, does it?
Doesn't matter. What do you say?
This closed on 2 days ago. We're going to subdivide up in Michigan, and you're right. I probably paid retail price for it, but I got with owner financing, no personal liability, 3-year balloon. Who cares? Because it'll turn into several $1 million worth of profit, because we're actually going to do the horizontal development and sell the lots to builders, which they're in bad need of right now.
Yes, that's a new trend. And so it never ceases to amaze me how the knowledge you get, even the most basic knowledge, it can keep morphing into other things, bigger things. You can morph them into more complicated things, or you can morph them into easier things.
As we both did, and pretty much everybody that I've ever taught that's been successful did exactly the same thing. Where you are 5 years from now is not where you think you're going to be 5 years from now. If you stay in the game, you're going to figure out other ways, other cool things. And once you get your cash flow situated and your financial situation squared away, which doesn't take very long, gives you the freedom to go out and take advantage of these opportunities you wouldn't think of while you were striving to make a living.
Yeah, Ken D'Angelo, the founder of Homevestors, told me one time, he said, an entrepreneur rarely ends up with the business that he starts out to create. He always ends up morphing to the most money for the least resistance, and it'll usually take him someplace else.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. We're good examples of that, aren't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do want to emphasize that I think the reason that anybody can stay in business for 20 or 30 years or more, it's got to be from an integrity level, and you've got to maintain your reputation at all times, because you're just one bad deal away from having to back up and start all over again. So,
Well, it's not hard to do that when you're actually just teaching what you do, and what you teach works. And that's a big key. What you teach works. We'd love to believe that everybody actually does anything with what they learn, but we both know that's not going to be the case. On the other hand, does everybody go to Harvard and use their Harvard degree to any great value, or any other school for that matter? So all we can do is bring them the bear. They got to skin the bear.
yes. What I learned from you, a lot about what I learned from you was is all about terms. It's not all about price. I mean, who cares about the price? I mean, actually, you can get down to some ridiculous examples. I mean, I can pay $1 million for a $100,000 house if you want to postpone my first payment for 30 years. And I don't care after that because I'll be dead. So to stretch it out, Ron and I met in an unlikely circumstance. Well, probably a likely circumstance. However, I was in an audience with Ron, and he was asking me one time. You gave pretty long dissertation on how to find lost owners and owners of abandoned houses. And at one point, he asked, "Does anybody have another way?" And I reluctantly raised my hand, and I had said that I put a for sale sign in the front yard with my phone number on it, and the owner calls me every time.
On a house you don't even know who the owner is.
Yeah, no, but believe me, they call you. And if they don't call you, there's a whole other set of things you do, because there is probably no owner at that point. They're dead or something. So, but that earned me a steak with you. I don't know if you remember or not, but that earned me an evening and a steak with you in a chapter in one of the books. Because you looked back at the back of the room and said, I don't think we have that one. And the first thing you asked me was, are they pissed? I said, hell yeah, they're pissed. So I had to morph again. I said, they're pissed. I said, first of all, they got these people calling you that want to buy the house, but you can't tell if it's the owner acting like a buyer or if it's really someone who wants to buy the house. And you got to treat every one of them like it's the owner acting like a buyer. And you have to say to everyone who calls, I probably have to take the house off the market because there's a title issue. and then if it's the owner, they will jump up and scream at you, damn right, there's a title issue. You don't own that house. That's my house. And then so I learned to put for sale with a question mark on my sign so I could disarm the pissed off owner. I said, no, I wasn't trying to sell your house. I'm asking you if it's for sale. I've been trying to find you, So anyways, I have some fond memories of, and I've been to a lot of courses and some of your private stuff too, I always learn something in those rooms. And a lot of times it's coming from you, but other times it's coming from the sharp people that have the wherewithal to be in the room with you. You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of a mastermind.
Yes. And so I can't imagine where I'd be if I didn't. People think masterminds are expensive. What do you say to that?
Compared to what? Compared to the price of ignorance? Believe me, I don't care. I'm in 2 masterminds right now at $25,000 each for 2 meetings a year. It doesn't matter because it only takes $1 million idea out of both of them combined to make the cost totally irrelevant. And trust me, I've never been in a mastermind where I didn't get way more than $1 million idea out of any of them. I mean, that could happen in any in any mastermind meeting. And you said it best. You're hanging around with the movers and the shakers, and you create relationships that are way more important than anything you learn from the teacher at the mastermind meeting.
So I don't think that the venue where you show up at the hotel or show up at the convention, I don't think that will ever go away, because what happens in the hallways, what happens in the at lunch and dinner, I think is equally as important sometimes as what's happening up on the stage, from the master of ceremonies,
Or more.
Yeah.
That's where your relationships are built and your contacts are attained.
Ron, what are you most proud of in your career?
All of the thousands and thousands of people like you They got launched because I came into their life. I mean, what could you make you more proud than that?
Yeah, and you sure you never get tired of hearing people thank you?
I never get tired of it. I never get tired of the testimonials that come in. How could you get tired of that? I don't know. And
Okay.
what keeps me going?
What are some of the, we can always talk about the good things and the big checks and the fancy cars or the vacations and all that, but where was some of the darkest moments in your career?
Oh, 2008 didn't do me a whole lot of good. I had 32 different commercial projects and developments going on in 9 different states simultaneously, all with student partners. Then 2008 came and capital dried up, but more importantly, all the exit strategies that we were planning all dried up. So all of that went to hell, and that created a big mess. I'm still dealing with the after effects of that to this very day. But fortunately, I was smart enough to not let it wipe me out, because I learned how to protect myself and going to seminars and listening to the smart people. And it did not, take me out financially. I had multiple streams of income, which I'm a strong believer in. It certainly put a dent in my income, like dropped 80%, like overnight. The same with our company, Global Publishing. Literally, we had to lay off half the staff in one day. But we fought through it, Mitch, and that's the key. We just took it day by day. We dealt with it the best we could. We pissed off some people along the way because, when it comes right down to where you don't have the money to pay your bills, you can't pay your bills, you just deal with them. So we dealt with them, and we all worked it out. It took 2 or 3 years, but we finally got through it and just hung in there. And, people ask me sometimes, what's the key to you being in this business? The long answer is I just stuck to it. I wasn't chasing shiny objects and going in multiple different directions. Stuck to it long enough to perfect not only the art of buying houses, but also the art of training others. And, we've got one of the best training systems in the country. And now, because we implement for people, we don't just teach them. Training without implementation is kind of worthless, isn't it? You can go to your seminar till your ears bleed, but that's not going to make you any money until you put that into action. So we've taken all these years to set up the systems for them, so there's hardly anything for our clients to do today except make decisions. In my case, I jobbed that out. There's nothing for me to do. I've never had so much vacant time in my entire life, man.
So I've been in the seminar or in the room where you were doing live calls and made deals right in front of the whole audience. And I saw it, I saw it when it didn't work out. There was calls that didn't work out. It's just like real life. And then, you'd go through a handful of calls and nothing big happening. And then all of a sudden you'd hit one, and the electricity in that audience is amazing when that happens. It's got to feel good when you hit it. It's not scripted because it's too rough. I mean, I knew immediately this isn't scripted. This is really live because they don't know what's going to happen. And it was electrifying when you made the deal and they did what you said. They used the candor. They used the scripts that you had, and it just worked out. And those scripts take a long time to develop.
They've gotten better over time, and we still do that to this very day at every live event we do and every online event that we do. We still do those live calls, and then we follow up with deal structuring events every single day to tell people what we're going to do with this deal we just negotiated. I've always believed the best way to teach anything is to do it while you're watching it, and you can't dispute that it will work, especially when it's your leads that we're calling.
One of the best watch it things I ever did was I had a mentor in town, and he said, we're going to go look at some houses, but I got to stop by the post office here in a minute before we go. And so do you mind going with me? I got to go by the post office first. And I said, of course I said no, because he was my mentor. I'm going to go wherever he takes me. I'm going to do whatever he's doing. And I said, what's so important about the post office today? He says, I got to drop off a check to the IRS. Would you like to look at it? It was like $650,000 was the check. And that's when it got my attention. Like I saw it with my own eyes. He wasn't joking. He dropped it in the mailbox. And I thought, this guy's no BS. It just brought my whole focus up about 7 notches, or as high as I could get it.
I would submit that he's probably not very good at tax reduction either.
Well, no, he said that was his next seminar. He says, I'm going to the next seminar next week.
There's seminar cost him $650,000.
Yeah, it's like there's always another thing to learn, right? You learn how to make the money, then you got to learn how to keep it.
You bet, you bet. In fact, I even have a class on how to never pay taxes when you sell real estate. Podcast for you like that. If you want to schedule it, I'll show you 3 ways, all your listeners, 3 ways to never pay taxes on real estate.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll schedule a podcast on at least 3 ways to buy and sell real estate and never pay taxes. We'll do that.
Got it.
Good.
Just schedule it. I got nothing to do, Mitch. Might as well get all out of this brain. This is my 75th year on this planet. You know, I'm going to be celebrating my birthday this year.
75 years on the planet. That's good. All right. Well, I have my people call your people. They'll get it all scheduled. We'll do it. So you're really focusing on. You have a course for just about everything, and I've seen how deep your knowledge base is, and you do a really good job of conveying any and all of those segments. But one of the things you're really high on is how to get terms when you're buying a house. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Did you get terms when you bought those ranches?
I absolutely did.
Well, imagine that. Yes. Both residential and commercial terms are what I do. This commercial property, I bought it with terms, a small down payment and finance the balance for 3 years. And when I buy houses today, I buy them with terms and I sell them on terms. You're in Texas, you've got no choice but to buy them with owner financing or subject to and sell them with owner financing. Can't lease option them like we do here in Florida and the other states. So I just look for the sellers that are willing to let me make their payment for them or take a payment if it's free and clear. And yes, they're in the minority. They're not the majority. That's why we have all the pre-screening done outside. So we only got to make one closing call. It takes about 3 minutes to pick the pearls out of the pile and go visit them, get a contract, and now we control the house. In my case, I lease option them out. Let's say it's a $400,000 house. Well, that's at least a $50,000 non-refundable option deposit that I'm going to collect before I give anybody the keys to the house. In your case, it would be a $50,000 down payment or more. And that's non-refundable. If they move out, they forfeit that. If they buy it, they get it credited toward their down payment. And I collect monthly rent, which is always considerably more than what I'm paying out. And then what a lot of people forget about is I get appreciation, which is huge right now, isn't it?
Yes.
I've never seen houses appreciate as fast as they are right now. I've never seen a market like this in all my 40 years. Never. I get depreciation, which people tend to forget. You buy higher priced houses, that's a big deal. That could wipe out your income taxes. But I get debt pay down, which people tend to forget, because when I put tenant buyers in the house, I don't want them to cash out. I want them to stay in there and keep making the payments so I get all those other benefits. And truthfully, the majority of them never buy. They wind up moving 2-3 years later. They forfeit their deposit. I got to go do it again, collect another 50 grand. And so it's kind of like buying another house without having to buy the other house. And plus, they do all the repairs on the houses. It's a condition of their option. It has nothing to do with landlord-tenant law. It's a condition of their option. So that's a business that is totally different than the business that I started with, that I worked in for 15 or 20 years dealing with low-end tenants. Oh my God. I used to have black hair, back then, turned gray. And so I don't have any issues with these people. They pay their rent on time. This COVID thing doesn't stop them from paying because they got thousands of dollars at stake. They don't pay their rent. They lose their deposit. And they make the decision whether they want to buy or whether they want to move, and I'm okay either way. So I don't want to kill the golden geese, to be honest with you. I want them, and that debt pay down is really something that people tend to forget. I think there was some big paychecks being rendered from people who just kept on their houses for a few years. Now, I know you wholesale a lot of stuff, and I know a lot of wholesalers.
Well, actually, I sell or finance most of my stuff on 30-year notes, so I'm losing that
Good.
Appreciation, but I don't have to deal with any repairs. But you said you manage that too. I'm getting a hefty down payment, but I'm not getting the depreciation or the appreciation. So I have to go an extra step.
What percentage of the total? What percentage go into default and get the houses back?
About 1%, because I got good at it. But
that's all. Okay, but when you do this, do you encourage them to go refinance?
No. As a matter of fact, if you encourage them to go refinance, you're in for a rude awakening. Number one, I'm selling owner financing, so I picked the price. I didn't even go get an appraisal. I backed into the rents. I'm probably going to get an appraisal if they go to refinance. The appraiser is going to show up underneath my price, And then they're going to send out an inspector who's going to show up with 50 pages worth of stuff. And all of a sudden I'm an asshole, you know? So
Well,
you're either in the finance game or you're in the refinance game, but you can't be in both.
And probably equally important is you're going to pay short-term capital gains because you sold it the same year you bought it, regardless of whether it's owner financing or not. So yeah, I get it. Longer term. Didn't you start out in the wholesale business?
Everybody starts out in the wholesale business, don't they, Ron? I mean, how else are you going to do it?
Like, yeah. But don't you look back? Don't you look at some of these people sometimes? You know, they do. I know people do 200-300 wholesale deals a year. That's okay. They're making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But look what they're losing. You know, I wonder if they ever think about, what if I kept half of those houses? What if I did what you did? What if you did what I did? Because I can lease them or sell them on financing without doing the repairs on my work for equity thing I learned 35 years ago. Leave them as is and let them do the work. I've done quite a few of those. So I get all those benefits is the whole point. And of course, there's a long-term capital gain in my case because I don't sell them in the year that I bought them. In fact, some of them, I got a couple of tenants right now, been in the houses over 10, 11 years, and they ain't never going to buy. I haven't never done a lick of work in those period of time. The option's long since expired, but they still act like buyers and treat the house like buyers. They still make their payments. And it's a totally different mindset when they're a tenant buyer or when they're a buyer in your case, than just putting tenants in the house. I will never straight rent another house as long as I live, Mitch. I don't get it. People who are just renting houses are missing huge potentials, non-refundable deposits, and pass all the repairs onto the tenant buyer. I'm not sure why anybody would want to do it any other way, to be honest with you.
Isn't that part of the problem with the traditional landlord scenario? You're getting first month's rent and a deposit equal to the first month's rent. It's nothing. If they ruin the carpet, you can't replace it with that amount of money. Option fees can be any amount you choose.
You know, what it comes down to is you're dealing with the brokest segment of the market. How can you expect to not have anything but problems from the people who can't afford anything but the first month's rent? I learned that in about 15 years. It took me to figure that out.
I was going to say, I eventually learned it too, but man, what a beating I took.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's how we're here. That's why we're here. We took the beating and we still kept on going. We didn't quit like most people do.
So I sometimes make the wholesalers sick. And like you said, I'm not downgrading or peeing on wholesaling. It's not that. It's just that, the average, I talk to some people, I usually get them to answer, what is the average wholesale profit? They'll say like $8,000 or $10,000. That's my average down payment. And then they still owe me 360 months of $500 a month positive cash flow because I found a private lender to give me the kind of money I needed underneath to stick with the deal instead of just get a wholesale fee and let it go. So I said,
that's if you're paying cash. Now put terms in here. Or I take it over subject to or buy it with owner financing. I don't even have to go to the private lender. Why on earth would I want to wholesale? I mean,
and I've been trying to get the 500 mortgages because I don't want people to pay me off. But at about 300 mortgages, every time you put 20 in, like 15 of the 300 are paying me off, which I don't want. But it's still a really good day that day. When 15 people pay you off. I mean.
Mitch, ain't nobody gonna feel sorry for you here.
Right.
You're not looking for sympathy, are you?
So, I'm very well aware, always when I go somewhere, if I talk about my accolades, I know there's a faster gun, there's a guy doing more volume, probably right across the street, or someone that can wipe their backside with my financial. I know this for sure because I am looking for that guy to be my mentor, and they're out there. But I also like to go through the world like you did, with not just a hand up trying to better myself, but there's also a hand down trying to help people get a few rungs up the ladder for themselves too. And I think it's what makes it worthwhile. Is
why else would you do these podcasts?
Exactly.
Because you don't get any. But yeah, I get it, man. I mean, look, I'm semi-retired, but I still have a team that does all the work. I got about 30 some odd employees to this very day. They're doing it all day in, day out. And all I do is teach pretty much. And every once in a while I go interfere and create a little chaos because I can, and that's what I do. But other than that, it's all running without me. And that's a very hard lesson right there for people to understand, Mitch, is to get the hell out of the way and let other good people do what they do best and get out of the way and let them do it. And I've been very fortunate that I learned that after about 20 years, and I've been practicing it for the last 20 years, and it's been very good to me. In every business that I do, I've had 6 restaurants. Shoot, man, they're going to see me in there with an apron on, washing dishes and so forth. Let the manager, that's what the manager does. And that's what they do in any business. But some people just struggle with that. They just can't get out of the way. They just have to have their hands in every little thing, and they have to make every little decision, and minutia ruins their life, and they don't have no time to do anything of any consequence because they're putting out fires day in and day out. That's one thing I also teach against, and that takes time to get out of that habit. It does, because we're all born with it and we're raised with it. And some men will never get out of it because testosterone won't let them get out of the way. And the last thing us men are going to do is follow instructions, right? I mean, if it's working perfectly, we have to fix it, don't we? Yes?
Yeah. We have to go mess it up.
Yeah.
You know, it cost me, I tried to automate my business or get out of the way 4 times. I failed all 4 times. By the end of my 15th or 17th year, I was just completely fried. I said I was going to put it all in a box and just live off my self-storage units, which was more than enough. But then I thought, what a shame to lose, a couple of $1 million worth of income every year. And once you shut down that momentum and those private lenders, it's very hard to get it back, and so it's a monumental decision. And I just said, no, I'm going to do one more time. I'm going to try, but this time I'm going to pay an organization or someone to help me do it. I paid $30,000 to try to save, a multi-million-dollar business that I was too fried to do anymore. And once I trusted them, I let them unwind me. I drank all the Kool-Aid and I paid attention. But what really made the difference was the other 4 times that I was trying to automate my business or work my way out of it, I never allowed myself not to buy 100 houses a year. So I was trying to do this with what was left over of me after 100 deals that I was doing everything for, or a lot of. And so this time I was so burnt, I didn't care if I ever bought a house again, but I needed to learn how to set up a real business. And because I wasn't doing any business and I was just focused on fixing my business, it took about a year, but I fixed it. And I haven't seen the last 500 houses I bought, and I haven't seen the last 500 people that bought my houses. But my point here is I had to take a step backwards and commit to fixing my business, which meant I couldn't do as much business as I was doing before because I had to clear up some time to focus. And I think that was my problem the whole time, was I wouldn't let myself clear up.
Anytime you create a system, some of the things that were getting done are not going to get done, or get done in the same way. You can't have a system and have everything the way it was. So things have to change. One of the biggest things to change, of course, is you not being involved in all the little decisions, and then making sure that the right people in place, which is the hard part about getting this done, is getting the right people in place. I think you'll agree to that.
Absolutely.
Stop most people. But then I'd come back and I might say, well, are you the right people? Because if you're not getting the right people in place, it's your fault. It's all your fault. It's nobody else's fault but your fault. But then on the other hand, who's going to train you to do that? Where are you going to get that education at? You sure ain't going to get it in school, any school, high school or college. So you got to get it in the world, the real world. Unfortunately, every once in a while, you run across somebody that actually help you run the business. Because that's something you're just not going to go to school to learn. I don't care what school it is. And, but once you do, then you get better at getting the right people, and you get better at handling them after you get them. And in my case, when I put a couple of the right people in place, from then on, it's there. They do all of it. I don't do it. I've never hired anybody in 25 years that I can think of, because I suck at hiring.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I finally said, I guess I'm going to have to do something different. So I'm going to start giving people these tests and go by what the test results say. And the test would say to pick this person over here, person A. And I thought, there's no way. And person A is still with me today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have picked him in a million years.
But,
Another thing I did was,
but it was working, Mitch. You couldn't do it if it was working. Right.
we had a person in our office that needed help. And so we tested the person at the office to find out what they were good at and what they were bad at. And then we tested all the people that we wanted to work with her to be good at what this person was bad at, so that they would fit together. They would cover each other's weaknesses. I'm a real big believer in that now. I don't know why it took me so long to get there, but damn.
Yes, you do. You're a man.
I'm a man.
You didn't want to turn loose. I understand. We're all control freaks. I'll tell you the truth today. I'm the absolute opposite. I don't want to do anything. And when tasks hit me, I delegate them as fast as I can. And if I have to do them, I get them done as fast as I can. So they don't lay around and I have to think about them. And so I'm in a pretty good position today because I'm not required to do anything, which I guess is where everybody should be.
Yes. If you've listened hard enough and showed up enough and you finally let it sink through our thick skulls. Hey, so I want everyone to go to 1000houses.com/get terms. And over there, that's going to take you to the show notes of this podcast. Over there is going to be anything and everything that Ron wants to put over there. And you won't believe how deep and how just how rich all the information is that he gives. And everyone has to take this and kind of tailor it to themselves or figure out how they're going to do it. But everything you need is there. I want to give my personal testimonial. I don't know where I would be except for I walked in your seminar one day and it took me to some place I never believed I would go. I would like to think that with or without you, I'd have found my way somewhere. But as it turns out, I started to find my way when I walked into your room. And it was just a way of opening up my mind and getting rid of a lot of the limiting beliefs and also seeing people around me in those rooms actually living what you were teaching up there. And so I was getting positive feedback and observation saying, there's other people out there that are doing it. I think I'm as capable as them or more capable. Let me go try my hand. And
that's the value of a live event right there. Right there.
There were people I was talking to at lunch that were doing 50 houses,
You should know that I almost didn't go to my first seminar because Dallas J.R. Ewing was on TV and I didn't want to miss J.R. crying out loud. He was my hero. But somehow, I don't know what compelled me. I just had to go, man. I just had to go and I did. And that was the beginning. If you want to go to my online training, what is it?
1000houses.com/get terms.
Okay. I'm going to spend about an hour teaching you step by step on how we buy and sell houses on terms. And you'll see why we can do that without using our money or credit. Using your credit is the worst mistake you can make in this business. We don't use credit on Planet Ron. We use very little, if any, money. And also, if you're looking for a place to live, I just got off the phone with one of my relatives here who's looking for a place to live, and she started talking about going down to the bank, and I said, shut up. We don't do that on Planet Ron. We buy houses with owner financing. We don't need any banks. We don't need down payments most of the time. We don't need to fill out any applications. Nobody pulls our credit with none of that junk. If you're looking for a home to live in, you better go and watch this seminar because anybody can buy a home like I buy them in any state in the union. And yes, it does work where you live, and it does work now. It's just got to work for you. So go see what we do, and you'll get a wide awakening, I can tell you. And just like pretty much everybody does when they see this stuff for the first time.
Okay, so the main event over at 1000houses.com/get terms is a webinar where Ron's showing you how you don't need credit or you don't need money and how to buy real estate or a home for that matter, the way that they do it on Planet Ron, which is there's no personal guarantee, there's no loan application, there's a lot of times no down payment even.
You'd be surprised how many no down deals we get just because of the scripts I create, which I'll show you on that seminar. And in full disclosure, Mitch, I'm going to be selling something on that thing. Is that
Oh, surprise, surprise. Okay, so this man's going to give away a whole lot of content, but then he's going to say, do you want to go further? And there's, because what can you do? I mean, I've been on a weekend with this guy for 3 days that we never stopped for 3 days. It was damn near grueling, and it never repeated itself. There's a lot of information. It's a big topic, but you want to get some really good starter place right here. Go there. I appreciate Ron. He's letting you know he's got something for sale back there too. So don't be surprised.
It's cheap, and it's way below what we sell. It's a course on terms, is what it is.
Yeah, I always look at courses and everything like all I need is one nugget or one transaction that I wouldn't have done that I did because of the information I got. And this is free information at that point. So the man spends a lot of time. He goes in a lot of depth. And he deserves to charge a price for what he does. It's well worth it. And quite frankly, for a lot of us, if we hadn't have written a check, we might not have gotten off our ass,
No, that's a good point. For those who think that you're going to get educated for free, give me a break. Who's going to educate you for free? Okay, what do they get out of it? Let's be real. Anybody that's offering training has a whole lot of overhead behind that training. Stuff just doesn't materialize out of thin air. There's cost to doing all this, so we have to charge for our training. But I'm telling you right now, it's totally insignificant for what the value of it is. And of course, if you don't believe that, you don't buy it. And even if you do buy it, you get a 30-day refund policy anyway. So you should be thinking less about having to spend a little bit of money and more about what it would be worth to you, so you can grow up and be like Mitch one day.
All right, 1000houses.com/get terms. Again, a free webinar over there. How to buy real estate with little or no money and no credit and no personal guarantee and maybe zero down, on this stuff. I have made many a deal like that. And
Let me stop you. Right here on my desk right now. This is a property information sheet that our virtual assistants filled out for the students. Okay, and it's a $350,000 townhouse here in Jacksonville, Florida, where I live. Now look right down here at the bottom. We made the closing call. It says right here, they've agreed to nothing down. Their payment is $1,600 a month. This is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath with 2-car garage, in excellent condition in an excellent area. And the deal is orally done right there. Nothing down deal. You would be shocked to learn that about 60% of the deals we do are nothing down. Now, nobody's going to believe it till they actually see it in my personal. Nothing.
Yes, 60% of the deals they do are nothing down. Are these subject to, is this a subject to deal?
I with owner financing, I don't like subject to be honest with you.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear you say that because
if you got the time, I'll explain why. But as you know, there's thousands of subject to deals going on all around the country every day. But it's not the best thing to do for the seller.
Yeah, I understand. So again, 1000houses.com/get terms. Ron, I really, really want to thank you for being my guest on my 500th episode. It's an honor, and kind of ends up today right where I started was in front of Ron LeGrand. So maybe the tables are shifted and the chairs are shifted just a little bit different, but it's nice to talk to you again. Nice to see you're doing well. And again, thank you for all that you've done and all that you do.
I am honored to be on your 500th show, sir.
All right. And then I expect fully when I get off of this for you to chew up and say, why the hell did you do 500 episodes?
No, I know the answer to that.
All right, my friend, I'd like to thank livecom.com, livecomm.com for sponsoring this episode. Please go there and see why I sell my houses average 4 days on the market with no signs and more than enough buyers. I've even, I like to get 10% down. It's pushed it to, I'm averaging 15% down because of the system. It just brings in a lot of buyers. And quite frankly, I can choose to sell my houses at will almost now because of that. Check it out, livecomm.com. And it works for a lot of other businesses too. Don't just think it's real estate only.
Are you raising the prices of your houses more than what you think they're worth?
Absolutely.
I mean, now, this market, raise the damn price. Even if you're selling it for cash, raise the price.
Yeah.
And wholesale market. What a crazy wholesale market. I've never seen such a herd of greater fools out there grossly overpaying. I tell all my students, Mitch, whatever you think you want to wholesale for, add $10,000 to that and you'll get it. And don't forget to send me 5 of it.
give Ron a spiff. Yes, you're selling a house through MLS or something. I mean, don't be afraid to tack $15,000 or $20,000 on right now. So it's crazy world out there. All right, my friend, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's an honor to have you here, and I hope to see you soon in the future, and maybe we'll go fishing.
Maybe we should.
All right.
Bye.
This is Stephen with 1000houses.com podcast. Thank you for stopping by to get you some Ron LeGrand. We're out of here.